Okay, today we're going to do 4.6, adding and subtracting mixed fractions. So to add or subtract mixed fractions, we have two ways to do this. We can do method one, which is convert the mixed fractions to improper fractions first. Then we're going to get an least common denominator for the two fractions. And once we have that least common denominator, we can add or subtract the fractions, the numerator part. And then if we have a fraction that's still an improper fraction, then we have to convert it back to the mixed fraction. Or we can add the whole number part and get a number. We can add a fraction part if they have a common denominator. If not, we have to get the common denominator. And then after that, if the fraction part is greater than 1, we have to convert that to a mixed number and then make in the fraction part and add the whatever part is left over as the whole number, add that to the other part of the whole number, and we can get our overall final answer. So let's look at this. Let's take 7 2/5 plus 3 1/8. All right, so what we're going to do is first method was when we're going to convert it. So let's go ahead and get our pen going here. So we're going to take 5 times 7, which is going to be 35, plus 2. So that's going to give us 37 over 5. Then plus 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25. It's going to be 25 over 8. Now we have our two fractions as improper fractions, but what we have to do now is we have to get these to be common denominators. So if we look, LCD of these two is just going to be 5 times 8, which is 40. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take the first fraction, 37 over 5 times 8 over 8. Then we're going to add to that the 25 over 8 times the 5 over 5. So if we do that, well, let's first take 37 times 8, so it's going to be 56, and that's going to be 29, and so we'll have 296 over 40 plus, and 5 times 25 is going to be 125 over 40. Now what we do is we just have to add those two together, so if we take 125, add it to our 296, that's going to be 11. Carry 1, that's going to be 10, that's going to be 12. Carry 1, that's going to be 4. So we get 421 over 40. So that's our improper fraction. Now what we have to do is we have to convert that to the mixed number again. So we're going to take 40 into 421. So that goes in once, that's 40. Subtract, that's 2. Bring down our 1, that's 20. That doesn't go in there, so it's 0. And so it's going to be 10 and 21 over 40. So that would be our method 1 answer. Now we're going to do the same thing except for method 2. And so for method 2, what we're going to do is we're going to line them up top to bottom. So we're going to have 7 2/5 plus 3 1/8. And so with this method, we add the whole numbers and we add the fraction part. So again, we have to get a common denominator. So we already found the common denominator is 40. So if we multiply that by 8 over 8 and that by 5 over 5, that then goes and gives us 7, and that's going to be 16 over 40. And then this is going to be plus, that's going to be 3 and 5 over 40. So now we have 7 plus 3 is 10, 16 plus 5 is going to be 21, and then that's over 40. So we have 10 and 21 40ths. And again, both methods give you the same answer. It just depends on if we want to go to this mixed fraction part here to begin with, and then work our way down and then go back and divide it out, or if we want to go and just do it like we have here, we just add the whole numbers, and then we get the common denominators, and we add our two fractions together that way. And this one, the only thing we have to worry about here is if we can reduce it. And 21 is 3 times 7, that's 2 times 5 times 2 again, and so then we can't reduce that, so that would be all we have. So let's do this again, but let's do a subtraction this time. So if we take 5 times 3, that's 15, plus 2, that's 17 over 3, minus, now we have 15 plus 1, so that's going to be 16 over 5. All right. Now our LCD is just going to be 3 times 5, which is 15. So if we convert that, we're going to take 17 over 3 times 5 over 5 minus 16 over 5 times 3 over 3. So if we multiply here, 17 times 5, so that's going to give us 35, and that's going to give us 85. So that's going to give us 85 over 15 minus, now we have 16 times 3, so that's going to be 18, so it's going to give us 48 over 15. So now we just take the 85 minus the 48, so if we go ahead and do that here, so we have to borrow here, so it's going to be a 7, that's going to be a 15, so that's going to be a 7, and 7 minus 4 is 3, and so we get 37 over 15. All right, so that's an improper fraction still, so now we have to go ahead and divide that out. So 15 goes into 37, well, it goes in twice, that's 30, and we have 7 over 15 as our fraction part, so that's going to give us 2 and 7/15. Now method 2, what we do is going to line it up again, so it's going to be 5 and 2/3, and here we'll have 3 and 1/5. Now we're subtracting. So again, our common denominator is 15, so we're going to have to multiply that by 5 over 5 and multiply that by 3 over 3. So that goes and gives us 5 and 10 over 15 minus 3 and 3 over 15. Now we can subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2, 10 minus 3 is 7, and that's over 15 still. And as you can see, we get the same answer there. All right, so that's using either method. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do one, and it really won't matter which method we use. We're just going to pick and do one method. And what we're going to do, let's do 8 and 1/2 plus 5 and 2/3. So if we do method 2, because that kind of seemed to be one that might have been easier if you think about it for some, that way we're going to again line it up, 8 and 1/2 plus 5 and 2/3. Now those are not common denominators, so we have to think about the LCD. Well, that's going to be 2 times 3, which is 6. So that means we're going to multiply this one by 3 over 3 and this one by 2 over 2. And so that's going to give us 8 and 3 over 6 plus 5 and 4 over 6. So now we have 8 plus 5, well, that's going to give us 13. Now 3 plus 4 is going to be 7 over 6. Now the key here is this part here. 7 over 6 is not a fraction in normal. This is an improper fraction. And so if we think about that, if we take 6 goes into 7, that's 1 time, and that's 6, subtract that, that's 1. So this is really 1 and 1/6. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our whole number part, 13, plus the 1 and 1/6, 1, 1/6. Well, here we have nothing, so our fraction part's 1/6, and then we have 14, and so this then will be our answer, 14 and 1/6. So you really have to pay attention to these parts here where the fraction is an improper fraction. All right, so the next possible thing we could have go wrong is when we're subtracting, we might have a number that needs to be changed in the numerator. So let's say we have 9 and 1/2 minus 3 and 2/3. So again, we'll go ahead and say, well, that's 9 and 1/2 minus 3 and 2/3. And I do it this way because I found over the years most people like it this way. They can see it. They don't like to do the improper fractions because those get to be big numbers when you multiply, as we've seen in a few already. So here again, let's see. Our LCD is going to be again 2 times 3, which is 6. So we're going to multiply that by 3 over 3 and this by 2 over 2. So when we do that, that's going to give us 9 and 3 over 6 minus 3 and 4 over 6. All right, so here is the problem. 3 minus 4 is going to give us a -1. So what we have to do is we have to make this a bigger number. And so what we're going to do is we're going to borrow from the 9, a whole number, and we're going to borrow 1, so that becomes 8. And if we borrow 1, that means we're going to have to add 6 over 6 to this number. And so when we do that, this now becomes 8 and 9 over 6 minus 3 and 4 over 6. And now this problem works because 9 minus 4 is going to give us 5, which makes this a number that works, because here when we did it, 3 minus 4 is going to be a negative 1. That doesn't work. So what we're doing is we're borrowing 1 from this number, dropping it down to 8, and we're adding a whole 1 here. And so this common denominator is 6. We're going to add 6 over 6. And so then we take 3 plus 6 is 9. And now we have our problem we can work. Well, 8 minus 3 is 5. 9 minus 4 is 5 over 6. And so that then would be our answer. Okay. And so these are the kind of the special cases. One, when you add, you get a number that's larger than, and we have to go ahead and convert it to the whole number plus the fraction, and then add it to our whole number from the previous thing. And here, when we subtract, we have a number that's going to be a negative, and so we have to borrow 1 here, add that one to the first fraction, then we're going to get an improper fraction here, and when we subtract, it's going to be just a proper fraction and the whole number. All right, so let's think about some more problems here. So in college football, the distance between goalposts was reduced from 23 1/3 feet to 18 1/2 feet in 1991. By how much was it reduced? All right, so what we're going to do here, it sounds like we're going to do subtraction. And so let's write this out. So we have 23 1/3 minus 18 1/2. And so that's going to be our subtraction. So as we've been doing, we have to first find our LCD. Well, it seems like they like to use 6 as their LCD on a lot of these problems. So we'll multiply this one by 2 over 2, and this one by 3 over 3. And so what we get is we get 23, and this is going to be 2 over 6, minus 18, and this is going to be 3 over 6. Well, as you notice, 2 minus 3 is going to give us a minus 1. So we're going to have to do like the last problem. And a lot of times with subtraction, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to borrow 1. So that becomes 22, and we're going to add 6 over 6. So this now it becomes, let's split it down here, 22, and 2 plus 6 is going to be 8 over 6, minus, now we have 18, and this is going to be 3 over 6. And so now if we subtract that, that's going to be 4. And here 8 minus 3 is 5 over 6. So it looks like it was reduced by 4 5/6 feet. Okay, so that's going to be our answer for that one. So again, on these word problems, remember to include your units, and if you need to, say what it means. It's reduced by that many feet. So that's kind of what we need to say there. Okay. And again, as we did on the previous one, we had to borrow 1 from here, add it to here. So then when we added those two together, we got an improper fraction. So then that number was then larger than the one here we're subtracting off. Then when we got done, that was a proper fraction. All right, so the next one, Sherry and Woody are widening their existing 17 1/4 foot driveway by adding 5 9/10 feet on both sides. What is the new width? Well, let's think about what that means. So we're going to have initially a driveway that looks like this, and it goes into the arch, so we don't care how long it goes, we're widening it. And so this one is existing as 17 1/4 feet. And now we're going to add on some piece here, and we're going to add on some piece here. Still can't draw straight lines even on here. All right, and both of these pieces, this one and this one, are 5 9/10 feet. This is 5 9/10 feet. All right. So now what we want to know is, what is the new width? So we're taking this piece here, plus this piece here, plus this piece here. And so we're just going to have 3 things to add together instead of 2 like we've been doing. So if we take 17 1/4 plus 5 and 9/10 plus 5 and 9/10, and we line them all up. That's what we're going to have. Now, if we think about 4 and 10, we need to find an LCD. Well, 4 is 2 times 2. 10 is 2 times 5. So if we take this one times this one, that should get our LCD. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 5 is 20. So that's going to be our least common denominator. Now you could have just taken 4 times 10 and got 40, but then you're going to have to reduce when you get down to the end for sure. So let's do it like this. We're going to take this one times 5 over 5, this one times 2 over 2, and this one times 2 over 2. So now we have 17 and 5 over 20. Here we have 5 and 18 over 20. And here we have 5 and 18 over 20. I'm going to add all those together. So here we have 10 plus 7 is 17, carry 1, that's going to be a 2. And now we have to add all these together. So we have 18 plus 18 plus 5, so that's 16 plus 5 is 21. So that's going to give us a 41. And so we'll have 41 over 20. Okay. So what does 41 over 20 give us? Well, that means we're going to have to do a little division. So we'll go down here and we'll go 20 into 41. That's going to go in twice. That's going to give us 40. Subtract, we'll have 1. So we have 27 plus 2 and 1 over 40. So that's going to give us 29 and 1 over 40. Okay. So, oh, 20. Why am I saying 44? Let's erase that part. I don't know where I got that. All right, so there we go. All right, so let's put it back to 20 like it was. And so the new width equals 29 and 1 over 20 feet. Okay. And so that's going to be the width from on our driveway from the very left side all the way over here to the right side. So that's going to be the whole width. And again, this one is one where we had to, reduce the improper fraction that we got when we added them together. So with addition, we're usually going to get an improper fraction, and so then we're going to have to convert that to a mixed number, and then add it to whatever our whole number was on the improper fraction piece. All right, so let's do another one. Here it goes. There are 283 and 5/8 gallons of liquid fertilizer in a fertilizer application tank. After applying 178 and 2/3 gallon to a soybean field, the farmer requested delivery of 250 gallons. How many gallons of fertilizer are in the tank after the delivery? So here we're going to have so much to start with. We're going to apply some, so we're going to subtract that number. And then he's going to get a delivery of 250, so we're going to have to add that number. So we're going to have a subtraction followed by an addition. So we'll have 283 and 5/8 minus our 178 and 2/3, and that's going to be our first problem to do. And so here our LCD is going to be basically 3 times 8, it looks like, which is 24. So we're going to multiply that by 3 over 3, and this one by 8 over 8. And so this gives us 283, and that's going to be 15 over 24 minus 178. This is going to give us 16 over 24. And as I said, with subtraction, you usually end up having to borrow. So we're going to have to borrow here. That's going to give us 282. We're going to add 24 over 24 because we borrowed one here, so we have to add it here. And so that gives us 282, and 15 plus 24 is going to give us 39 over 24 minus our 178 and 16 over 24. So now we have to take 39 minus 16, so 9 minus 6 is going to give us a 3. 3 minus 1 is going to give us 2. That's going to be over 24. Here we're going to have to borrow 1, so that's going to become a 7. So we have 8, that's going to give us a 4. 7 minus 7 is 0. 2 minus 1 is 1. So now we have 104 and 23 over 24 gallons after we applied the 178 gallons. Now we're going to add 250 gallons to that. So now we'll have 104 and 23 24 plus 250. And there's no parts of a gallon here, so that's easy. So the fraction part's going to be 23 over 24. And this part's not too bad, it's 354. And so then our new tank, so in the tank is 354 and 23 over 24 gallons. Okay. All right, so that is, oh, one more here. Sorry about this one. Jim is working on a project that requires 2 boards. The first cut to the length 6.5 feet. The second is cut to 5 7/8 feet. How many total feet are required? So he has 2 boards. One of them is 6.5 feet. So 6 1/2. The second is 5 7/8, and he wants to add those 2 numbers together. Okay. Well, here LCD is just going to be 8. And so we just have to multiply the first one times 4 over 4. So that gives us 6 and 4 over 8 plus 5 and 7 over 8. So here 6 plus 5 is 11. 4 plus 7 is 11 over 8. Now 8 goes into 11 one time. Subtract that off. That gives us 1 3/8. So what we really have is 11 plus 1 3/8. So that's going to be 12 3/8. So the total feet equals 12 3/8 feet. Okay. So that's the total number of feet he needs for the 2 boards added together. And so that then is the last one. So if you have any questions after watching this, I'm going to make a couple of short videos with some short problems, and hopefully that extra will then be something you can watch just really quick. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact me.